So shout out to you amazing, beautiful ladies.
Hey girl, hey guys.
Who had great pain and labor.
Or who didn't have any labor. You had a surrogate. Or you
Yeah.
adopted. It's Mother's Day. Happy Mother's Day.
That's a great responsibility. Think
Yes,
about it.
it's huge.
Let's sing a song for you. Dear Mama.
Mm.
How Tupac song? No, just joking.
Oh no. We ready. We ready.
Oh man. So let's talk about mothers, right? So let's get into it. So I'm a madre. We're all madres. And we have a beautiful mother. So mother, first and foremost, let me give honor to my mama who made me who I am. Shout out to you, girl.
Hey,
you're,
girl.
you're so special to me.
Shout out to our mama. Our mama. So motherhood has evolved even more so over the years. If you look at how mothers raise their children, let's think about, remember the Little House on the Prairie? Is it Prairie? Little House on the Prairie. If you think about how that show and how that mother was raising her children, and then if you think about like shows now, like maybe Keeping Up with the Kardashians, how that motherhood kind of looks, it's a huge difference from then to now. So motherhood has evolved over the years, and we're super glad about it. Well, I don't know about glad about it, but
Yeah. But I feel like mothers back then were expected to stay at home, to take care of 10 children, because back then a lot of people had lots of children. You don't really see lots of children these days, and that was kind of your responsibility. Stay at home, cook, clean, the husband go out and work, and
you keep the house. Yeah. So there's some societal expectations that we had on mothers. Just in general, you're used to seeing like the mother being the one to raise, the mother being to want to kind of gear where the child goes or what have you. There are some challenges. Like if I could ask you this question, like what is a challenge that you face like as a mother in raising your children? Like what is with society, with social media and everything, what's a challenge that you face? Because you have influence coming out from more so from the outside, where when before social media, the influences were possibly just at school. And when they got home, it was a whole nother ballgame. But sometimes we as parents give our children phones at 3 and 5 years old, and then they have them by elementary, then they have them by middle school.
Yeah.
So you have these other influences. So as that, what do you have a challenge with?
that's very interesting, because recently one of my sons, he recently got a phone, which I didn't buy for him, but his godpapa bought for him. But I feel like I've been able to kind of groom them or give them my ideas or tell them what I expect of certain things or my ideas on certain things. But the other day he was like, Mom, what is this? And like, I guess he's seen somebody, you know how people do, what is it called? When they're doing like controversial things on YouTube. So he was kind of taking that. And I was like, if you don't be careful of it, society will have you gearing away toward religion, because they're critiquing it, and your children listening to these critiques and they're asking all these questions and not understanding. And previously I could be like, no, this, but now that they hear another opinion, it can create another way for them to think or open their minds up differently.
So that actually it sounds like a good foundation to have dialogue between the differences of maybe religion, and why you believe what you believe in. Instead of saying this is what you're gonna believe in, you explain why you believe in what you believe in. So that's actually a good platform to have a good open dialect with your child.
But it could also create friction too. Because it's so much out there that can go against what we teach them. The standards that we and try to instill in them. There's so much out there, which can make it difficult as a mom because you have to worry about that. On top of nowadays we work, right? On top of working, they come home and cook.
Yeah. So that, to me, that's kind of going into, now you're kind of tapping in a little bit into gender roles, maybe, or the roles that the child plays, the mother plays. Because sometimes you have a working parent and that child is coming home and they're having to cook for themselves, or they come home, mom is asleep because she has to work, later on that evening or something because she works overnight, and they have to play that role. So then when do you instill certain things into your children? And then when you're instilling them, how do you know what's going to sit and stand and be solid? Like when you go outside, like what I teach you in this house is what sticks. No, it's what's that word? It's what's bond.
So now the roles have changed as a mother. I guess your expectations as a mom has changed. Now instead of just staying at home taking care of the children, now you have to go out and work. And honestly, men these days expect you to work too. They wanted to work in, what is it called? A 2-income household? They want that these days. Men don't want to.
Look at the Cosbys. Both of them worked.
Right? I didn't even think about that.
Yeah, they did.
The Cosbys, which was an ideal, I would say, an ideal family dynamic for probably African American. So when you think of like a healthy family that was on TV, one of the first families you think of is the Cosbys. Both of them worked. The Huxtables.
Interesting. And then what did she do? Did she come home and...
Not the Cosbys, but the Huxtables.
The Huxtables. So what did she do? Did she also go work? Like, did she come home and clean or what?
I don't really watch it that hardcore.
I don't remember
her like being at home, but she was a lawyer? He was a doctor or something like that, right? She was a lawyer. And when in reality, lawyers work long hours. So, but the Huxtables were a family that people like looked up to. The dynamics of two parents working, and they made it look like it was all together, I guess, in a sense.
Wow. That makes me think of finding a way to leave your touch on your children, or taking the time. You have to be extra.
I read something, speaking of that, I read something where a mom said one of her proudest moments in her life was to be able to stay at home. No, what did she say? Stay at home and instill God into her children. She said that's the proudest thing to me. On top of everything else that I've done, that's the first thing that I'm very proud of, to be able to stay at home and instill God in my children and be there for them. That's like a big thing, because not all women work. Some women are at home. Some women, some families, they make sacrifices for a parent to be at home to create some stability. Because I was just thinking about this on my way here, is that sometimes when people like are assisting someone and the child's not on a schedule, it makes it extremely hard for the person that's watching them because they're not on a schedule. And so you cause them to go into like this to have to struggle because the child's not on a schedule. And it just makes you think of like, how hard is it to try to get is it important for a child to have a schedule? It's extremely important for a child to have a schedule.
Oh, so our mom had shared with us a video with this little girl. I think she was in the classroom or daycare, but she was having a full-blown tantrum, like going up to the board, what is it called? The board, and she was pulling other people's work down. She was throwing books out, kicking over chairs. She tried to pick up a whole desk and flip it over. I was like, what? And then there's another video that circulated where the teacher's like, good morning, boys and girls and parents. And the little boy's like, shut the blank up. And she said, do we need to leave? And he was like, no, blank. And they were like, oh, I was like, so to me, I'm like, oh, he's just probably doing what he probably sees at home, that what he's been exposed to, because children are very, it's not copycatish. Yeah, they're impressionable. Yeah. So I was like, they're doing what they've been allowed to do or what they seen.
That's a part of leaving your handprint on your children, or like it's more difficult these days now that you're doing more.
So what is your definition what is the definition of motherhood? How do you all feel about the little girls, little boys like doing a lot of these popular dances like on social media? Are you for it, against it? Do you kind of look at that mama and be like, what's wrong with that mama? What's wrong with
I
that
think
dad?
it depends on what dance they're doing and how they're dressed when they're doing the dance too. I've seen some girls in little skirts and it's just so much, and it's crazy because you really can't because girls are they're to wear dresses, they're to wear skirts, so it's kind of hard to kind of critique, and because we're in a messed up society, and men and just perverse thoughts, and so I think it's very difficult to gauge.
Yeah, well, yeah.
So, I mean, motherhood, the definition of motherhood has shifted and definitely changed, because now sometimes people view motherhood as you having a child, not necessarily giving birth. And some people view a male having a child, that's a form of motherhood, because you're having to be nurturing, and you're having these qualities of motherhood, but you're not a mother.
What do you mean the qualities of motherhood?
Like nurturing is one.
But is that only come from women though? Like nurturing, is that only a woman trait? Like,
well, think of Mother Nature.
You don't necessarily have to call yourself, even if I just feel like even in that standpoint, you don't necessarily have to be like, I'm the mama.
That's a good thing, because have you ever run across a woman that was raised by her dad?
Yeah.
How she function?
Manly.
They don't function. They think different too. They think different. Yeah,
that's interesting.
So, just
what?
I like your eyeshadow today. I like that gold, that blue, that baby blue and gold.
What you gonna say? She just cracking it over. Whoa.
Your makeup, you be having like lines.
Cause I be tearing I just get worried.
That's why I can't wear those lashes sometimes. They be getting me, boy. I just be like, I can't do it. But anyway, what was I saying? That's a good debate. That's a good discussion to have. You said nurturing. Can a man be nurturing? Is a man's makeup to be nurturing? Can you alter that? Because you can't alter a man physically. So can you alter a man's mentally?
That's good.
Now, when we look at the world, you look at people being altered surgically or hormonally. But can you alter a man's mind? Does that play into the hormones? So that's a good discussion.
That's good right there. That is good right there.
That was a good one.
Because I think so why do they call nature? Why do they give her the title of Mother Nature?
Also make you think of women raising men.
Fruit.
Because we just said women that are raised by their fathers, they think differently, they function differently. So what about the men that are raised by
their facts.
moms?
That's why they a little sweet. No,
oh no.
I'm just
but anyway, we want to know your take on it. So drop a comment below. Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers and those who are raising guardians, playing that role of mother. Thank you. Happy Mother's Day.
You know what? Can I say last? Also, don't find yourself in sorrow this weekend. I know everybody doesn't have their mother, right? So don't find yourself in sorrow. Find someone to love on. Do something, make yourself active, and have a great Mother's Day. Wear it with a smile.
I feel like a woman.
Bye, y'all. Happy Mother's Day.